Discover Help presents Stress-Free Living with Ray Samich and Mr. Stress-Free Ratanjit S. Sandhi. This audio program is an unscripted and unrehearsed conversation between Ray and Ratanjit. It is shared with you in hope of adding value to your life. We encourage you to listen to this program in its entirety to receive the full impact of its message. Sit back, relax, open your heart, mind, and soul to this edition of Stress-Free Living.
Welcome to Stress-Free Living. Thank you so much for being with us today. I'm Ray Samich, and it is my great privilege, honor, pleasure to introduce all of you to my longtime co-host, radio colleague, and my dear spiritual brother, Ratanjit Sandhi. Ratanjit, how are you today?
Wonderful, Ray. How are you?
Excellent, thank you. Interested in talking about this topic today because as old as I am, as long as I've been around the first of the year, people make resolutions and they try to improve who they are and where they're going and what they're going to do. But over my lifetime and yours, we have seen a continual decline in the number of people making resolutions and the same type of decline in the number of people keeping and following through with their resolutions. So I wanted to talk about that today with you, maybe at a perfect time here for those of us that are joining us live. If you are catching this show at some other time other than in December, January, when it maybe isn't as top of mind, I think it's still relevant to our discipline, to our determination, to our fulfillment of our promises. Before I get into some statistics that I want to share with people, Ratanjit, any initial thoughts on the whole idea of making a resolution once a year?
You know, fundamentally, the purpose of resolution, why do we make that? Because these so-called breaks, you have a new day every day. So you have a new week, you have a new month, you have ultimately a new year. So what happens is you end up accumulating so many things which you cannot go back. I wish I could change what I did. And so we all make so many slips, and we want to, and somehow or other, our society or calculation or everything shows if I do certain things, this is going to be the result. If I eat right, I'm going to be healthy. If I basically have better utilization of time, I would be in a position to have the right results and so on and so forth if I do the right exercise. So we know certain things would make us feel better. So this new year is ultimate new start. So when you are making a new start, you are inclined to, okay, this year I'm going to do this. So it gives you incentive to make certain commitments, and this is the year I'm going to do it. So you make a list of things which you want to follow through this year. That is the foundation of a resolution, continuously improving either our health or financial status or whatever it is. So these are the reasons. Now the question is, why is less and less people are making resolution and less people are following through? What are the reasons for that? Well, this is what
I agree with you. That's the concern. And again, I know I'm going to be redundant here, but when I was younger, in my 20s, I remember very, strongly that any Christmas events, any Christmas type of parties and New Year's parties and office gatherings, the main topic of conversation 30 years ago was, what are your New Year's resolutions? I mean, what are you going to be doing? Did you make them? And what are they? And people openly shared that information. I truly remember those kind of conversations happening. Today, the great majority of people don't even talk about them. And in fact, I think it's time. Maybe I will share some statistics here with our viewers. And for those that are listening, you can just follow along and hear them. But today, only 37% of adults will even bother trying to make resolutions. Only 37%. So 63% of us don't even bother trying. Here are the most popular resolutions for 2024. They've done some surveys, and this is by Forbes Health, which is a very notable high integrity organization publication. 48% of resolutions center around improving our fitness. 38% improve finances. 36% improve our mental health. 34% lose weight. 32% improve our diet. Those are kind of the same in many ways. 25% are the first time that we talk about somebody else. We want to make more time for loved ones. So 1/4 of the people making resolutions start thinking about how they should engage with others. 12% stop. What's that?
37%.
25% make more time for loved ones.
So all these are basically out of 37%.
Right. Yeah, these are of the 37% that make them. So you're right. If you look at it that way, it's 25% of the 37%. So that's even a smaller group of people overall. 12% want to stop smoking. 9% want to learn a new skill, which is interesting because you're always talking about how we have to learn, how we have to want to continuously be a student. It's only 9%. 7% want to make more time for hobbies. 7% want to improve their work-life balance. That's kind of a buzz term, and I'm surprised that that's only 7%. I kind of thought that would be much higher. 6% want to travel more. 5% want to meditate regularly. 3% want to drink less alcohol, and 3% want to perform better at work. Now, when I read the article, everything else is 1% or less, and there was a whole bunch of things that we won't mention. You can imagine it, a very long list, but these are at least 3% or more of people's resolutions. And then just to read the bottom here, again, only 37% of adults in America now make resolutions, which means 63% of us either think we don't need to improve or we don't bother trying. An equally depressing statistic is that 53% of this 37% who try give up on their resolutions within 3 months. Within 90 days of January 1st, more than half of the people already don't bother trying. And 80% quit by the 6th month. And only 8% actually accomplish at least one of our resolutions. 92% of the people don't bother or aren't able to finish. I just, when I read that article, again, in a very notable publication like Forbes Health, I just felt this is so depressing. We need to talk about this, because what is this saying about our humanity right now? What is this saying about the level of our interest, passion to do better, our determination, our discipline? I mean, before we talk about it, it just on the surface, it's pretty depressing, isn't it?
That it basically matches, because we are all born with almost the similar opportunities. By by working hard, by having proper education, by becoming a reliable person, is less important. Uh, Successful people who have achieved successes. Many of them, one of the quality with them is not about intelligence, not about education, not about the resources. It's reliability. It's basically their commitment to doing something which is important. They are basically reliable to the promise they make to themselves or promise they make to somebody else. So supposing you have this carpenter who is amazing. He's the best carpenter there is. But whenever you want him, he say, okay, I'm going to be here 6 o'clock tomorrow morning, but he never shows up. So ultimately, you give up on him. You stop calling him because he's unreliable, regardless of how much skills or how much he can do. You have to work with somebody who is going to be reliable. So ultimately, uh, our we are constantly, our reliability can be improved if your human body is reliable. Your reliability is going to be improved if you are proper, you have more enthusiasm, you want to do certain things, you have positivity, your reliability will improve, you have better tools, you have better education, you have better understanding of things. So you can make these resolutions to improve your reliability, improve your uh, value, improve your self-worth. So basically, this is what we do. Now, the reason, in absence of positivity, you are not really inclined mentally to do anything, to follow anything, right? If you have a bad day, you're feeling yucky or whatever it is, you don't feel like doing anything, right?
Right.
So it is basically, if your environment of the world is constantly spitting out negativity in the environment, if you see the news or watch the news or see internet or or social media or anything, everything is full of animosity, hatred, and negativity. So it is mentally you are poisoned, mentally you are polluted, and you need a positive, enthusiastic state to take on a commitment, right?
Let's go down that branch a little bit, Ratanjit, because I've always felt, and maybe I'm very different in this, but if I'm relying on the world to make me happy, if I'm relying on everything around me to make me successful, to give me peace, to give me joy, I'm I'm going to fail because the world isn't going to give me those things unless I make them happen, unless I take responsibility. And if I bring love from within me, I'm going to find love all over the place. If I bring passion from within me, I'm going to find other people and opportunities to collectively be passionate. So when we I do agree that so many people are in the doldrums because the world is so negative, but isn't that just a cop out? Isn't that just like saying, hey, the world's a mess, so I'm not even going to bother trying? We can do it. We have the ability within us to make a change, maybe just a small change in a big world, but we can still be positive. We can still be disciplined. We can still have determination, even if the world is not what we want it to be. Is that such a crazy thought or a unique thought that it doesn't have merit anymore?
No, you are absolutely right. That is what people who achieve unprecedented successes think. They don't spend their time watching television or somebody else. They basically uh, enjoy constant reading, learning, constant thinking about making a difference. So those are the people, eventually, once they get addicted to that positivity, which is coming from taking the activity in their own hand and making life positive because of their action and thinking, and they become more or less independent of the circumstances of the situations, and they are the one who achieve successes. That is why um, very few people there. If you look at the masses of 43% of our population, 43% of population lives hand to mouth. They don't have enough resources to even have proper meals, a proper place, proper situation,
I
right?
know that's a staggering number. That's
It's
that really
a
that's the
staggering.
poverty level, right? That's basically the poverty level.
No, it's above poverty level. Poverty level is, they have, anyways. But in fact, that is a poverty level, and
Yeah. At least in practicality, it is.
and that is in the richest nation of this world.
Right. Right.
And we are, no wonder that less than 1% control all the wealth, all the power.
Yeah. Similarly in terms of relationships, because I was it was interesting to me to see on that list of resolutions, there was nothing about relationships. Nothing. And again, decades ago, that was very high. Okay, to increase my friendships, to find a soulmate, to improve my marriage, whatever it is, there was no, I mean, that didn't even make a 3% level, okay, which is mind-boggling to me. And when you talk about the same idea of from within, I I really get frustrated when I hope I don't show it outwardly, but when people come up to me and say, I'm no longer with him or her, they didn't make me happy. They didn't make me happy. And I hear that so many times that that's the reason that people ended relationships, marriages, or whatever. They didn't make me happy. And I always say, well, you have to be happy inside first before somebody, if you're relying on somebody to make you happy, you're probably never going to be happy.
Absolutely.
It's the same idea, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think before I want to tell you a story which is going to give us some clarity. And before I do that,
Should we
why
take a break?
break? Yeah,
Yeah, let's take a break. We're talking today about dreams or goals. What are our resolutions? Are they something that we're trying to really accomplish? Are we just dreaming that we can be better? Are we even trying? Maybe that's the third option that is most important here to talk about today. Are we even trying to better ourselves and to change the world in some small way with the life that we have been blessed with. That's what we're talking about. We will have much more to say about it. We're so glad you're with us. We'll be back in just a moment. All right. Anyone have any thoughts you'd like to share? Welcome. Now's your turn to talk with us.
Well, Ray, you were talking about, I have not looked at the data from previous years, but I take your word for it, that, people were more likely to make resolutions surrounding relationships and stuff like that. So it's not surprising. I mean, there is a definite cultural shift in our world. We are much more self-centered, and, the family and relationships have disintegrated quite a bit over the last few decades. The one thing that I was, once again, I would like to compare it to previous surveys. The mental health was what, in top 5 or top 6? That's kind of encouraging to me, but.
Yes. Improved mental health was, I think, 3rd or 4th. Yep.
Yeah. So that denotes a greater awareness about mental health issues. I also noticed yoga was, or meditation, not yoga,
Right.
meditation was in top 10 too. So it's a mixed bag as far as I'm concerned. There is departure from relational matters, but there's maybe greater awareness towards mental health issues.
I think awareness is the key word. I think 20 years ago, we were not thinking really much about our mental health. We really weren't. It was part of our overall health, but I don't think we broke it out separately. So I think you're absolutely right. It's much more awareness of thinking, do I need the big thing in the office, I need a mental health day. I hear that all the time, need a mental health day. We never heard that in the past.
Right. But then mental.
We are back on Stress-Free Living. So glad that you are with us here today. We talk during our breaks with our Zoom guests, and we welcome you to be a part of our Zoom audience every week. That allows you to talk with us before the show, during the show. We get some of your feedback and some of your questions that I can ask Ratanjit. And then most especially after the program is over, we really kind of have a nice informal conversation about whatever we talked about that day. So if you'd like more information on that, visit our YouTube channel, Stress Free Living Radio. Just Google that in, or search that in, I should say, on the YouTube channel, and you will get not only access to well over 100 shows that we've done by title, but you also will get the link there to join us on our Zoom call every week. Ratanjit, you were about to share a story. If you still remember it, it was a long time ago. What was the story that you had in mind that you wanted to share that maybe would clarify some things for us?
There was a very successful businessman, young guy, and he loved his family very much. And it so happened that his wife met with an accident and she lost her. He lost her, and it affected him mentally to such an extent, and he took to alcohol and gave the working of the company to our other employees and so on. So he was more or less very depressed. So he had a friend in Africa. So when he came to know this happened, he called him. He says, "Hey, listen, why don't you take a vacation and come and spend some month or so with me and get a change of environment, change of scenery, and maybe it will help you." So he convinced him to join him. So he went to Africa, and of course, all the safari and all these things. He was ultimately, one day he visited an orphan, and he found this young, small 3-year-old kid, and he kept looking at him with his eyes open, and it was kind of, and he took a amazing liking for this little kid, and he asked the orphanage, "When can I adopt this kid?" So after the paperwork and everything, he adopted the kid, and he brought him to US. And now it so happened there was according to the papers he got, there was a birthday for this little kid. So he brought a whole bunch of gifts for him. And this kid opened the gift, and he was happy and all that. And so they went to sleep in the evening. So suddenly this man got up, and then he heard some crying in the room. So he went to the kid, and he was crying. And as he entered, he grabbed him and hugged him, and he said, "Why are you crying?" So say, "You are going to die." The kid said to the man, "So why am I, and I don't want to lose another father. I already lost a father. I became orphan. I don't want to become orphan again." So why would I die? So this man who could not quit drinking, and this little boy said, "My father was drinking. That is why this alcohol killed him. And I saw you drinking when I go to sleep, and you pick up the bottle and drink, and you are going to eventually, I'm going to lose you." So this man who could not quit drinking, based on this demand from this little kid, he quit drinking. So the fundamental thing is here that we will go to certain degree for things we do to benefit us. Good health, I'll quit smoking, I'll make resolutions to improve myself. But if my resolution is taking care of somebody else, I have higher commitment. Taking care, it. So most of the resolution you mentioned, you read, they're all for self-improvement.
Yes.
But if you take on some project which will benefit the society, which will benefit others, you would make some requirements, resolutions, you will fall through. In order to fulfill this requirement to add the higher value to our society, I have to have better health. So I would do certain things to improve myself. I would quit some bad habits like smoking, drinking. If I have a purpose which I can see clearly, which will make a difference to so many other people. So in our society, we have become extremely selfish. So that itself removes room for improving or spending time or making resolution to make our society or others better. So until we follow that, our incentive to fulfill our resolution would be much less, right?
There really are two aspects of this conversation. One is the fact that only 37% of the people even try to make a resolution. Okay, that's part of the situation that's worthy of discussion. Why 63%? Why 2/3 of people in America, adults, don't even try anymore to do a self-evaluation, a self-assessment, and then write them down or put them in our brain and say, okay, this is one thing I'm going to change. I mean, that's even one thing. It isn't a study that says, are there 3 things on your resolutions or 5 things or 10 things and different. It's even making one resolution. 63% of the people won't find one thing to improve about themselves. That's worthy of discussion. Okay. And then you have this second part of it that says 80% of them will quit within 6 months. 80% will give up on the resolutions within 6 months. That's its own conversation. I think in terms of being purposeful, having an incentive to continue with that and persevere and really make that change. I think that second discussion relates to that. It's easy to say I want to be healthier. I'm going to give up drinking. I'm going to give up smoking. I'm going to work out more at the gym. I'm going to meditate. All of those things, if you don't have a purpose, then it's kind of understandable how 80% of them quit within 6 months because they don't have a bigger focus. But I first want to really talk about the fact, why do 63% of us not even do that assessment? Why don't we care enough at the changing of the calendar, at the turning of the year, which is still a pretty big deal? Days fly by, weeks fly by, months fly by, but we stop and we say, Happy New Year. It is a fresh year in a calendar. That's still a pretty big deal. Why don't we even spend a little bit of time saying, I want to improve myself. I just one thing, just one thing I want to do. I want to do better. I want to be better at. I want to, help others. I want to feel better. I want to look better. I want to have a better mental health outlook. What is your thought? Why would 2/3 of the people not even care about that?
Basically, they are parked in very what is in it for me syndrome.
But even if they were, brother, wouldn't they be saying, if I'm parked in it for me, then I want to look better. I want to have more muscles. I want to have less fat. I want to, I want to have a beautiful girl on my arm or a handsome man on my arm. If it's all about ego, then that's easy to see that. But they're not even doing that.
So
They're not doing anything.
I mentioned 43% are living hand to mouth. What incentive would they have? Because they find life to be hopeless. And there are many people, depression and loneliness, they're 2 major states they exist in our society. I don't know the percentage of that. And so that will not give you incentive enough to do anything, even to get out of the chair, get out of the bed. So it is, you have to have some incentive, some hope, some possibility that this will happen to make a resolution. So a lot of people who do not make a resolution, they have lost hope, they have lost possibility of achieving this, what resolution would give them. So that's why there are less and less people.
It's a very.
Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. Go ahead. I was just going to say you're absolutely right. Okay, I totally get that, and I agree with you, but I don't understand if 43% of the people are living hand to mouth at the same time as that statistic is true. I go constantly into restaurants and they say our servers, we don't have enough servers. I go into stores and they have 12 checkout lanes and there's only 2 open. And when I complain, and I do, because I am very transparent about my feelings. So I'll go over to the manager or I'll go over to the service counter and I'll say, it was a 20-minute wait because you only had two open. And they say, these people didn't show up. We can't hire more people. We want more people. We can't hire them. I just hear this. I see it in my own offices that I work with. We can't hire a receptionist. We've been looking for a receptionist for months and we can't find anybody who wants to answer phones for our company. It's, why do we have that disparity? How do we have 43% of the people that live at a, that live basically hand to mouth, and yet pretty much every business person you talk to right now say, I have openings I can't fill. How does that equate?
But people, they are working one jobs or two jobs and three jobs, and many times they cannot meet the basic requirements of their life. So our whole equation in our society is lopsided. We are really basically looking at whether you're looking at drug companies or organizations, or we are looking at the political system. So they're all parked in what is in it for me. Even our healthcare system, we are spending close to 3.8 or $4 trillion a year on healthcare system. Do you realize US is the sickest country in the world?
Yeah.
So because they are parked in, when you go to hospital, how much you pay for a Tylenol? Close to $100.
I know. Yeah. I got a knee brace. I went in because I had a real serious problem. It was a $300 knee brace. I mean, just crazy.
Yeah, they are making, amount of money they are making is unbelievable. So doctors are forced by the hospital to see more patient, more operation they have to do in order to qualify for special bonus or for the salary or whatever it is. So we are driven by mighty dollar at every stage. Our humanity is disappearing. And that's why this resolution is basically, a lot of people think, even if I improve this thing, I'm not going to get anywhere. That's why they don't make any resolution. Right.
This is so discouraging, Ratanjit. I don't know. We've got to turn this around here because we're giving all the reasons why at the top it's so messed up that it loses our incentive. And then we've talked about how, we're not doing it from within. We can't find the passion, a willingness to change. We've become more self-centered than ever before. We're not thinking about anybody else. There's got to be a solution here, Ratanjit. There has to be some way to shift this paradigm from the fact that all these people have no hope. They have no incentive. They live hand to mouth every day and they go through the motions. I mean, it's no wonder then that crime is up because they're trying to just live day to day and commit crimes. They don't have their morals and ethics. That core is gone. The family environment is gone. There has to be some positivity in here somewhere. If not, this may be the worst show that we've ever done in 30 years. How can we find a bright light here?
Yeah, we'll give you a solution after you take the break.
Oh, okay. So there is a solution, but in the interest of good business, we have to take a quick break. We'll be right back with the solution to why we are not setting good resolutions, why we're not keeping them, and why we're basically all so miserable these days. at least many of us. We'll be right back for the answers on stress-free living. All right. Welcome to our new guests that have joined us. And now it's your turn. If you have a quick question or thought, sorry for cutting you off, Rakesh. We were going back last time.
Oh, no problem. Totally understandable. It's please always do that because sometimes I talk too much.
Right. You don't know the clock, and I have it here. That's why.
Right,
No
exactly.
worries.
Yep.
Yep.
No worries at all.
So anyone else wants to give a
Anyone
comment?
else with a quick thought you'd like to share or question? I don't mean to be depressing today. It's just been like piling on here pretty high. I guess not.
Well, then, so nobody's saying anything, so I'll say something.
Go ahead.
So, Ray, it will be very interesting to check, how these numbers look like, let's say when USA was going through depression. Because my theory would be, my prediction is that it's not just the economic matter. There's a big time psychological and cultural shift in humanity. We are more self-centered. Like Ratanjit ji used that example, that says it all actually, because we are not having any larger incentives in front of us. It's all about what is easy for me, what gives me instant gratification, not even any kind of meaningful gratification that's meaningful to me as well as to people around me. So I think the most of us, not all of us, the way the humans have been looking at the world had changed, and that's why I see this. That's my theory. Is this decline in making? They want to live in the moment.
We are back on Stress-Free Living. Thank you so much for being with us. Again, engaged in our conversation with our Zoom guests, and we encourage you and would really enjoy for you to be a part of that. Visit our Stress-Free Living radio channel on YouTube for all the details. Ratanjit, let's wrap this up. It's the holiday season here for those of us that are being part of this on a live basis. So it's like a nice little package. Let's put a big ribbon around it and put a bow on top. What is this wonderful gift that we can give to our audience here today that will make us feel better, and not only in the moment feel better about the situation, but actually more purposeful, so that we can have hope, we can have feelings that push us to do more, to be more than we are?
There is a mental state. If you create that, you improve your immunity, you reduce your stress, and you minimize inflammation in your body, in your system. You reduce neurodegradations in your human being. You overcome depression, anxiety, and burnout, and you have better sleep. You have ultimately feel better about every situation you are put under. So what is that mental state? And
Is this a new drug that we're promoting here? Is that what you've got? A new pill?
Yeah, it's a new drug, and it doesn't cost you arm and leg, and you can do it by yourself if you understand this. And once you create that condition, you automatically want to do something. And you will become a dynamo in controlling your fortune, your time, your way of life. And that thing is unconditional gratefulness. So today, all of us, what should I be grateful for? Because I don't have food, I don't have house, I don't have this. So it has to be unconditional gratefulness, because it is conditional, you will never be grateful. because your human body wants more, never enough. You are always parked in scarcity. You are always depressed, and your ego is always hurt in all conditions. So once you become unconditionally grateful for the life itself, for the breath you take, for the capability to see, the capability to feel, this human body is gifted to you. You have to be amazingly grateful for this very gift which is given to you. And your entire life improves, because anytime, even in normal life, if someday somebody gives you something, you suddenly receive a $10,000 or $2,000 check from somewhere, and somebody gives you, food or shelter or something, you suddenly have a positive state of mind. But you are given the biggest gift possible, which is your own human capabilities, human mind, human being, human body. We should be for always be parked in gratefulness. Once you are parked in gratefulness, small things don't matter. So if you have something great happen to you, and suddenly somebody parks in front of you, so those negativity you face during the day are less. They are less. They minimize.
Impacting, right?
Minimize those things. So we are always going to be surrounded by challenges. It is only by improving those challenges we find opportunities and we become better. All the product made by companies were a result of solving a problem. So initially it was a problem. Somebody figured out how to solve that and made millions of dollars. So until you have found that unconditional gratefulness, which only happens by realization that everything is gifted to you, including this human body. You start with that, and every morning you start with the prayer of ultimate gift, ultimate gratefulness. Create that positive state of mind, and you suddenly become a dynamo to do things, right?
Ratanjit, you mentioned gratefulness a lot. As a matter of fact, over the last couple of shows, I think this is the third show in a row that we've centered on gratefulness. And it obviously is a big part of the reason, maybe the whole foundational reason why we can change and why there's so much more hope in the world than we think we have it. But that being said, and I don't disagree with you, but that being said, I think there's just so many people that can't discover that gratefulness because they just feel so desperate. They just feel so depressed. They're just so beaten down. And I think there's also maybe something, and I don't mean to sound paranoid with this, but I think there's almost an intentional plan by some political forces to beat down that gratefulness, to say you are entitled to more, you deserve more, and you're not getting it. And I think if we're in a uncertain mode mentally, if we're subject to influence by powers because we are depressed and discouraged, and so this seems like a bright light. You're right. I'm entitled to get more, and I'm not getting my fair share. And now instead of being grateful, we're angry. We feel cheated and picked on, and we're discouraged now because now we don't have what we deserve. There are so many amazing stories of people who had nothing, who had less than nothing, that somehow found the inner drive to become amazingly successful, not only financially, but in so many other ways. And they picked themselves up and they did it, okay? Because probably they were grateful for what they had and they built on that. But am I crazy? Do you see what I'm also talking about, where it seems as a society we're almost pushing that you shouldn't be grateful, you should be angry, you deserve more and you're not getting it. So don't be thankful for what you have, be angry for what you don't have. It seems like there's almost a push for that.
The consequence of operating in anger, consequence of operating in depression, and consequence of operating, I deserve this, and all that, we have seen that. So if you want to remain in that misery, and if you want to get out of that misery, I'm giving a solution. So it's up to you whether you want to stay in that misery, and yes, it will multiply, and you will always find so many reasons to verify and certify that misery. But you can always get out of that and take control of that. And eventually, although it sounds like, I know, what should I be grateful? It's easy for him to say, and this, that. We have to understand that the moment your mind is part in gratefulness, your human body becomes a self-healing human body. You have your mood change. You have so many things positively happening to you without having all these drugs and all these things which are available to you. And you have a desire to help somebody. You have desire to make a difference. You have desire to, once you are in that mode, you are going to be noticed as a positive difference maker. Your value, your self-worth is going to be enhanced. You will be employable. You will automatically get higher promotion. You will have a better relationship with your children, with your spouse, with your neighbors. Because who doesn't like a positive person?
Mhm.
Who doesn't like a positive, grateful human being? Who doesn't like somebody who never demands anything? So you position yourself into success, and success, you attract success. Ultimately, once you are there, you are focusing only on unconditional gratefulness, which is feeding your mind. And again, it is not the knowledge of this fact of unconditional gratefulness. You have to develop a habit of living in unconditional gratefulness, because we live by our habits. We do not live our knowledge. Because when you are talking about knowledge, you are going to find 100 reasons to dispute that. Once you have the habits, it'll carry you, right?
Ratanjit, you've shared again so much wisdom and so many great thoughts to ponder, to dwell on, so many realities. But one of the things you just said after I just gave my last few words were that, yes, this is true. There may be forces overwhelming us, whether they're personal, whether they are political, whether they are just bad luck, misfortune, whatever it is, there's bad things happening and bad things being spoken. But we have a choice, as you said, we have a choice that said, I can change this. I can shift this paradigm if I want it. And what better time than New Year's to say, I'm changing the calendar and I'm changing my outlook. I'm changing my mentality. I'm changing the way I look at where I'm at in my life and where I want to be. And then to realize that the secret to do that is to start in a grateful mode, to start and fulfill in full gratefulness every day. You are right. When you have that attitude, when you leave the house in the morning, the challenges that come don't matter. They don't impact you that way. You can still live through it and smile through it and hope through it and accept them and overcome because you've got that gratefulness in your heart.
So
Thank you for
all of us should make a resolution to develop this habit of unconditional living.
gratefulness in our living.
Gratefulness.
Right. Ratanjit, thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Happy New Year to you. Happy New Year to all of our listeners. We appreciate you. Remember, we're all playing the same game. Have a great day. Okay, I had to cut off quick because we were closing at the time. Now it is time. If anybody would like to share some thoughts, we welcome that.
We have Dr. Marsh with us.
Yes,
Yes,
you snuck
Sana.
in on us here.
Please open your.
You also have a surprise guest today, Sahil.
Hey,
Hello.
producer.
Hello.
Hi. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? I
My
really
goodness,
enjoyed this amazing conversation.
Yeah, you're looking handsome than ever.
Oh, thank you. I really like your suit as well.
Yeah. So what do you think of our thought process?
Really amazed by it. I think it was a really interesting conversation, and I had a few questions, but I'll leave it for the end after everyone's done asking them. I wouldn't want to interrupt them.
Go ahead and ask. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Go right ahead.
Absolutely. So I think my first question is a bit of an inclusive one. It's for Mr. Ray and Ratanjit ji. Do you have an example of a resolution, a past resolution that you've set for yourselves and you've successfully accomplished that, and you're proud of yourself for accomplishing that resolution?
Ray, you want
No.
to go first?
At this stage, I'm pretty old, unfortunately. So I get real specific. When I was younger, they would be more like, I'm going to wake up earlier, or I'm going to, be more fit or lose 10 pounds or whatever it is. Now I'm more specific in terms of a goal of something that I want to accomplish. Okay. I want to write this. I want to start writing an article. I did that just this past year. I love to write. I'm a creative writer, and I haven't been doing it. So now I write for a monthly newspaper that's in the area, and I write a column. I don't get paid for it, but I get great joy out of sharing reflections on the world. And actually, this show today came because of research I was doing on resolutions for the January issue. So, it all kind of works together, so that's the kind of thing I'm doing now. Very specific to say, I want to use this skill that God gave me in a certain way.
That's really interesting. Really amazing to hear that.
So in my case,
Ratanjit, I'm sure Ratanjit's will be much better than that.
No, it's not better or anything. The older I get, and basically I have only one resolution, which I continuously make every single day. I don't make a resolution for the year. When I get up, before I leave the bed, I close my eyes and make a commitment to myself to live in unconditional gratefulness.
Amazing.
You had a question regarding how to find.
Yeah. I mean, that's an amazing mindset, and that's what I really appreciate and try to imbibe that within myself. The the act of being continuously grateful for no matter what life throws at you. And I think I had a follow-up question based on Ray's question that he'd asked you at the start, sorry, at the end of the talk. So for myself, I find it particularly easy to be grateful when I'm having good moments in life. For example, if something has worked out my way, I go back thinking and being grateful to Almighty that thank you for helping me achieve this in whatever way you have. And in those kind of good moments, I find it really easy to be grateful. But as soon as there's like a series of difficult or situations where I find myself struggling, I immediately find myself lacking the motivation to be grateful, or I really try to maintain that discipline of being grateful, but it really doesn't come from within me. So do you have any tips or suggestions of, even in difficult moments, how do you find that ability to be grateful?
You know, I talked about unconditional gratefulness. Means it is not tied to things we have. So unconditional gratefulness happens to us when we realize the gift of this human life itself.
Interesting.
Every breath I take, it is, I don't know whether the next breath is going to come to me or no. So
Correct.
I have to be thankful for the breath which is coming to me. My capability to visualize, my capability to hear, my capability to feel. So supposing you cannot hear, and there is a special treatment which the doctor has done some operation and suddenly you are able to hear. But now this guy who is talking to you is calling you all kinds of names, and you are dumb, you are this and you are that, but you are so overjoyed by the very fact that you can hear,
Yeah,
right?
correct. That's a very interesting and insightful way to look, and that's amazing. That's cleared up a lot of things. So thank you.
I'd like to share another thought too. And I'm pretty sure that if you go out to our YouTube channel, there's a show or two in there that we've titled Expectations. If there isn't one, then let us know, communicate with us, and I can send you an audio recording before we started putting them on YouTube. But I found that it isn't the world that lets us down. It's the fact that we had expectations that weren't met.
Correct.
So it really isn't on the world or on others. It's really on us,
Correct.
because things didn't go the way we thought they should, the way that we planned them.
Correct.
And we can't control the world. We can't control others. We can't control situations. We can only control ourselves. And many times we can only control ourselves after things happen or in preparation for things. We can't actually even control what happens in the moment. They're out of our control. So we've talked about the power of expectations and what those expectations need to be in terms of improving our lives and adding the most value to the world, and which ones are actually detrimental because they put us in a mode that we can never be satisfied with. We can never be happy with the results. And so often I found in my life that when bad things happened at the time, they didn't meet my expectations and I was miserable. But over time, I realized there's a plan. I realized that there's a bigger plan that I could ever comprehend in the moment. And there was a reason for the way things happened. And,
Correct.
the old adage, one window may close, but a door may open. And you don't
Yeah.
see that in the anxiety of the moment, the depression of the moment, but in the big picture,
It
you
all
have to
works out.
trust it all works out. And it was just because our expectations were there. And that's really the only problem with it. And if you don't have those expectations and you just accept life the way it's given to us and trust, it makes a big difference. So check that out if you can. That was one of the biggest concepts that Ratanjit brought to my life is how expectations are more damaging in many ways.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your wisdom, Ray and Ratanjit ji. I'll try and seek the link for the YouTube video and yeah, sure.
And before we say goodbye, I would like to express utter gratefulness to you, Ray, and to Ratanjit ji for getting such wonderful sessions, spiritual sessions, weeks after weeks after week. And it's like a spiritual cleansing for many of us. It recharges us, reboots us. Thank you so much. May you all have a great year and we get to hear more of such content. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
May I
Are we
add
meeting
one
on
thing?
30th?
It's our
Yes.
pleasure. Thank you.
May I add, Sanaji,
Please.
there is a quote, Dukh daru sukh rog paya. This answers the question which he asked, that when we are in problem, then how to remain calm and grateful.
Can you
Right.
repeat,
So-
sir, once more?
My Punjabi is
Guru-
not that good. If you could
No, in
translate
Guru
the
Granth
quote.
Sahib,
Dukh,
yeah,
dukh,
I will translate. That is
Absolutely.
English. The English is something, maybe I am not fully, but you can make the concept that when there's a bad time, actually, those are the times when you are really grateful.
Oh,
When you are in good times, you forget about the spirituality and you forget about everything.
Yes.
correct. Yeah.
So,
dukh
so
means
that is
bad time. Dukh means anything which is painful, which
yeah,
Correct. Sadness.
painful.
is
When you
daru.
are in pain,
Daru,
Correct.
daru means the medicine.
medicine.
So dukh,
So when you, yeah,
sukh rog paya. Sukh means
Happiness.
good times, good things.
Good.
good times is basically when you are cut off from gratefulness
Yeah.
and you are in the other side of it,
And it
Wow.
translates into misery.
misery.
And Ratanjit, what did you say your mother always said about victories and failures? What you always used to say that.
Every time you succeed, actually you have failed to discover the weaknesses. Because in spite of your weaknesses, you succeeded. And every time you failed, your weaknesses become very clear to you. You
Okay.
discover your weaknesses, which you can overcome for the future. So this failures become blessing and success become curse.
Yeah.
Wow, that's really insightful. Wow,
It really
interesting.
is. It really is. And that's also, I think, in those successes when we get a big head, we get our ego. We're so good. We're so smart. We're so, we can do anything. And then we lose focus at that point because we think it's all about us. It's not anything about the oneness of the world. And when we get a setback, we realize we do need help. We can't do it all ourselves.
That's
Yeah.
why nature has given us both success and failure. So we continuously balance our life. Instead of crying when we failed, we should be happy. Oh, failure happened. I'm going to learn. I'm going
I'm
to
going to learn.
discover something. And then when success comes, you be grateful. In spite of my failure, I succeeded.
Wow, that's amazing. That really clears a lot of things. So thank you for that.
Yes.
Thank you for being here.
Thank
You're welcome every week.
Yeah, unfortunately,
Good to
because
see
of university, I've really been tied up throughout these 3 months. But now, since the Christmas break is on, I thought let's tune in, and Mom was tuning in, so I was like, "Why don't you turn on the phone on speaker?" And I heard I enjoyed the amazing conversation that everyone was having. So, thank you,
Thank you. Good to have you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Dr.
Anyone
Marsh.
else?
Yeah,
Dr. Marsh?
yeah. Well, finally, I echo those words. We're grateful for having both of you. I think the bottom line is not bottom line. The thing that you've always talked about is you can't control others' behavior. You can only control your own.
Yes.
So no matter what the situation, again, we can't control others. We can't control how many people make resolutions or not. We can't control politics, which is the real shame in this world, but we control our behavior and reaction. And I think that's what I really take out of it. Being parked in gratefulness, it always makes sense. It's not always easy to do. Sometimes very frustrating. But having said that, I think it gives us incentive to always try and wake up in the morning and, as you said, be grateful for who we are and that we have a live body. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. So great to have you always with us, all of you. Anyone else have a thought? Some
Well,
final
one
words
of
here?
one of my New Year resolutions is to be here more often.
Thank you, sir.
That's a good one. We like that one.
Thank you. Thanks to both of you. I just want to reiterate that, you know, it's been a very good experience for me. I enjoy being here. So whenever I can, I plan to be here. Thank you.
We appreciate you. Thank you.
And tell your friends that they can join us too.
Yep.
I will. I have to find
Live
the right time.
And we know it's difficult on a live basis. We appreciate the fact that so many of you do it and this unique time every week. But you know, it's so easy to access our stress-free living channel, and you know, please spread the word on that, because we think that these hopefully can add value to people's lives if they know that they're available to them.